Hello, everyone. I just wanted to take a few minutes and introduce to you our new MTSS forms. I'm going to talk about Tier 1 forms today and how you can kind of take your team and guide them through this process. So the first thing you're going to do is you'll create a master form for your school, and you have to create a link where everyone will make a copy. So what I've done with mine is I've talked with the groups ahead of time, and we've already gone through a discussion while we were looking at Tier 1 during our PLC groups. And at that time, we created a master form for Tier 1 for all of our different grade levels. So this is our master form for first grade documents, MTSS documents. So once you make a copy, and you start looking at the form right here. So the first thing I always do is tell my teachers to rename the form at the top and just put the student's first and last name. So I'm going to do one for Daisy Duck, MTSS Forms. And then you'll put the student name. Let's try that again. So the first thing that I will do is I will go up and rename the MTSS forms with the student's first and last name. Okay, then we're going to start filling out the student information. So you'll put the student name, the student ID, and then the student's date of birth. Let's just do that one. The next thing you're going to look at are supports. This is other supports, whether they have an ELL, a 504, or if they have an IEP in a specific area. So we're just going to say the student has an IEP. And one of the things you'll notice about this form is when you click it and checkbox, it crosses it out. Sometimes you can go in and you can edit if you go to more bullets and then select the check mark. I like this little green one right here. But then it'll do all of them. So you may have to go through and click on each one and revert it back. It's just not a very friendly. We're working on that, creating better user-friendly for that. The next thing is for students who have historical information from previous years. So if this is a first time the student has been in an intervention, then you won't be looking at adding anything here. However, if the student has intervention data from last school year, then you would put this school year, you would put which school the student attended, and then you would put, you would link in the attendance summary here. You would put whatever grade level they were in the previous year, whatever the teacher's name was. And then I always just put MTSS Forms, and then I would create a link here to our old MTSS Forms. You may have to scan and add those up in that way if you use paper forms or red folders last year. So whatever information you have, scan that and link it here from previous data. That way it'll always be available to whoever has the forms. All right, and then you're going to put the current school year here on page 2. One of the things that I really like about these new forms is it'll connect you really quickly to the reading data and the math data, and then supplemental and intensive paperwork. So if you have a student that you're doing a Tier 3 meeting on, you can click on this bookmark and it will take you straight to Tier 3. So just so you're aware, on top of page 2, you have links to bookmarks for all these different things. So that's a really nice feature. So here's what we spend our time doing in our PLC meeting is creating a core instruction grid like this for literacy, math, and our social emotional learning. So here are the different things that our first grade, how often they spend in Letterland, Haggerty, Heartwords, Fontes Pinnell, IRA, and reading stations. And then we took the group environment as well. And this would be the length of time approximately and how many times per week that instruction is occurring. At this time, you don't need to do anything with the core instruction fidelity observation or walkthrough. You will need to at some point put whoever completes your first observation, and Elliott walkthroughs will be utilized for that if at any point we need them. But that won't ever occur unless we have a tier 3 where we have a student that we have referred to the IEP team and made a recommendation for them to consider a referral. All right, so on page 3, this is where you're going to link all of your universal screener and core assessment reading information. So you will insert a screenshot of the overall reading for iStation from beginning of year. Then right here, you will need to link the student summary report. And one of the things that I've noticed when you link this is I'm just going to put in just a link to a thing I have right now. It turns very dark. So I always like to highlight that and change the color so you can actually read it better. All right. I'm going to unlink that information and get rid of that link. All right, so you will link the August student summary report and it may not be August, it could be the student started in September or October even, and you may want to link their first ISIP there. And then you insert your screenshot with your graph. And here you will insert the beginning of year student summary from Amplify. So, okay. So let's take a minute and I'm going to open Amplify and go into reporting and then reading. And so what you can do, and this is my demo class, is it pulls up the class summary right here. And what you can do is go up here to the print, and then you would print all student summaries. And what's going to happen is right here is it generates a PDF. This I've found is the easiest way. So then when it pulls up, you can look for the specific student that you want. And let's say I want Richard. So then I would just drag it over and add it to my desktop. And I can upload it to my drive there and it takes it out. So that's what I've found is the easiest is just doing the whole class and then pulling it out and adding it to your desktop. So you can upload it to your Google Drive. Okay, let's go back to our forms. So here on our forms, we're going to link that document here again. Like I said, once you link it, it'll turn dark blue, and I like to turn it to that bright blue just because it's easier to read. And then you're going to actually write the number, the composite number, and highlight it whatever area the students are listed in. So that could be a well below, if they're benchmark or above benchmark. You're going to highlight it with the corresponding color that is in Amplify. All right. The next part, so for first grade, they don't have many check-ins. They don't have state assessments, so I put NA on all of those. They will just have their Letterland unit assessments for K3, and especially for K1 and 2. So you will put any data that you use on your data trackers that are those cluster check kind of things, any of those major Letterland unit checks that you have. And I would encourage you to put enough information. You don't have to put a lot of information, but put enough information so that if you're looking at units, let's say you're looking at units 1 through 8 and you're focusing on short vowels, then at least give that information and then put what the student received. So if there were 20 things and they had 7 correct, so put however many it was out of, 7 out of 20. All right. And you'll record all of those. there is a really great link right here, the link to the K-6 required assessments, so that way you can kind of see which assessments should be linked for your formative assessments right here. And then a general statement about the student's class reading performance, and you could just a brief 1 or 2 sentence. Daisy is performing below her peers in the area of, phonemic awareness and phonics. All right. Then you're going to do the same thing with your math. You will link your ISIP summary report here, create a screenshot of the overall math graph, just that first graph, not the whole graph page, but just the first overall math. And then you're going to go here and put your cluster checks. So similar to the same thing, if a student needs or is receiving an intervention in reading but not math, you still need to input this information, and here's why. It gives a really good, clear picture of how the students are performing. So if we can see like immediately that this student's performing on grade level in math, we know that's a strength of the student, but maybe they're not performing in reading as well. So that would prompt us to take a closer look at, okay, well, we know that they are capable of performing in math. What's keeping them from performing in reading? So we always need to put all of this information that's from core instruction. That will definitely help us out. So one of the things that I did for my team when I was implementing this new paperwork is we just took a minute in our PLC time. We took about 15-20 minutes. The first day we just looked at what's the core instruction look like, got that completed as a whole group. Then I created a master document, and from there, the next time is we went in and I gave them opportunity to put in the students' information and to add any types of beginning of year data. So that was really helpful to have that time because you shouldn't have too many students for each teacher that need to complete that. All right. So the supporting documentation for Tier 2 and Tier 3, you may have already completed a vision and a hearing screening at this point in the year. We did not at this point in the year, so our teachers will be going back and inputting that this week after we completed it. All the other information doesn't have to be completed unless it's Tier 3 or an EC referral only. So this information is just here in one page, which is supporting documentation. So the big thing is the pass of the hearing and the pass of the vision, the date of the screening, and you will also need to link the screening page into this. So any student that, especially if this goes to Tier 3 and the Tier 3 team decides to make a referral to the IP team, then you will have to have that actual supporting documentation of the actual screening that has to be signed by someone. So we can't just have the date, we will have to have the page. All right. And then the next part will be Tier 2, and we'll cover that in our next video. Thanks for watching.